All right, welcome to our training. Let me know if you can hear me. Thank you for joining us for this training. My name is Isaac, and I'm going to lead you through this training. It's a Tuesday, August 27th, 2 p.m. Central Time, and we are going to do this for 3 days. So we're going to be here for some time. So grab some coffee, grab some tea, depending on where you are at, and let's have some fun together. So for the sake of those that have potentially never met me before, my name is Isaac. Thank you, Mark. Um, and I live in Kansas City here in the US. I do professional development, leadership training, communication training, all things personal and professional development. I have a training company that I run. I founded that company 9 years ago, 2014, actually 10 years ago. And yeah, that's what we do. I'm also a partner in a tech startup company that we are building. So I'm an entrepreneur. I love training. I love building businesses. But beyond that, I like to make a difference in people's lives. And I'm hoping for the next 3 days, 2 hours each, an hour and a half to 2 hours, you're going to learn something. And I hope you'll be able to benefit from this training. It's free of charge. We are not charging you anything. And if you like our training, we'll give you a chance to work with us at a deeper level. So let's get to it. By the way, if you have any question, go ahead and put it in the chat. Depending on where you are watching, if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, you can put your question there or any comment, and I'll be able to see it. I also have someone who is helping me to monitor the chat. One of my team members in my company. Um, yeah, so let's get to it. I'm going to share my screen, and we get to the training. So today we are going to talk about building your leadership foundation, and this is the beginning of the three series of trainings that we are going to do. So we have today, tomorrow, and Thursday back to back, each 2 to 2:30, 4 p.m. depending on how long it is. Tomorrow's training might be a little bit longer. So today we're going to talk about building your leadership foundation. And as I was building this training, I had several thoughts in mind. When you think about leadership in a grand scheme of things, is all about finding a way to influence the people that you are working with, whether underneath you, on the same level, or above you, to do the things that are required to be done. In this case, if you are a manager, a supervisor, a team leader, an executive, potentially you have people underneath you, and there are some expectations. There's a job to be done. There are some tasks to be done, projects to be completed, work to be done, basically. So you need to influence them to get to do that work willingly, and that's the key part. They need to do it willingly. When you think about the old school way of leading and managing people, it was all about telling people what to do, demanding that they do it, and if they don't do it, there were consequences. In this case, in very stern terms, you would tell them, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. Now that still happens in some of the organizations, unfortunately, but in the modern world, it doesn't fly that well. And I believe this is how it should have been from the word go, where you influence people to do the work willingly. They do what they're supposed to do, and that's what we're going to talk about. Now we have several levels, and even in our company, we teach new and aspiring leaders, we teach emerging leaders, and we teach executives. So the training is going to build up from the very low level all the way to the top by the time we are done on Thursday. So if you happen to hear anything that seems to be kind of right above you, especially if you're a new leader, then don't worry about that. You're going to get there at some point. If you are a senior leader or someone who is highly experienced and you get to hear some very basic things that we are talking about, just ignore that. You don't have to pay attention to it, because again, we are trying to cover everyone. But again, it's also in line with one of the curriculums we have. We are in the process actually of launching a leadership academy, and that's why we are doing this training as a way to give people a gift out there, and potentially towards the end give you an opportunity to work with us. So with the academy, we have 3 tracks. We have the new leader track, we have emerging leader track, and we have the executive track. And as we go through these trainings, we have specific modules that we teach those different tracks based on where you're at and the results that you want to get. So today, mostly, it's going to be very foundational. Bear with me. If it resonates with you, well and good. If not, then you can look forward to tomorrow. So I'm just curious, what is it you are expecting from the training today? um, we all have expectations, whether it's in our personal lives or professional lives. If you have a friend, there's an unwritten probably contract or an expressed expectation that you have that your friend is going to be there for you. They're going to understand you. They're going to support you in your dreams and your goals. When it comes to a training like this, I don't think you just wanted to show up to the training and hang out with me. And if that's the case, that's well and good. Again, that's some kind of an expectation as well. But I'm just curious from a professional perspective, what are you expecting from this training? What is it that you want to get from this training? And if you can put that in the chat, if I don't have it in my slides, then I'll go back and answer those questions and find a way to help you. Again, my name is Isaac, and a little bit about me. Most of you probably know who I am, especially if you are in Kansas City and in the US. I get to travel quite a bit, so I know a few people outside of my state. I'm a bestseller. I'm a best-selling author. I've written 2 books, and I have 3 more that are in the works right now. One of them is me writing just by myself, and I have 2 others that I'm co-authoring with 2 other professionals. And I like to write. Something that I've done for a long time. It just happened that I never published books until 2022, and it's been a good journey. I do keynote speaking on communication, leadership, management, motivation, inspiration, diversity, pushing through tough times. So I like to get out there on stage and get to inspire people. I do executive coaching, especially for senior leaders, and I'm also a certified trainer. And I believe I might have mentioned that we have a training company and we have several trainers that get to work with us, and all the trainers are certified because we believe that we need to give the best to the people that give us the opportunity to work with them. So again, welcome to day 1 of our training. Today we are going to focus on how to understand high performance mindset. And the second thing is how to set clear expectations and how to communicate those expectations. When you think about mindset, is a very foundational prerequisite for success in anything that you do. Earlier today, I was talking to an HR professional who we had a conversation last week on Wednesday, potentially to work discussing how to potentially work with one of the teams that she's in charge of. And we had a call today, and the question was, okay, what is it about high performance leadership that's so important that people need to know? And I had to share the 3 mindsets that I'm going to share with you today, because again, a mindset is very foundational for your success as a leader. Mindset is going to determine how high or how low you go in your leadership. It's going to determine how you see people. It's going to determine how you view people, how you treat them, how you view the world. And again, within your company and within your team, that's the world that you live in most of the times. If you're working 8 to 10 hours a day, that's taking a third of your time in a day. And potentially for your waking hours is getting the biggest chunk of your time. So high performance mindset, and we call it HPM. So what is mindset? Is simply an established set of attitude held by someone. We all have attitudes that we hold towards people, that we hold towards the world, that we hold towards companies and industries. So what is your mindset when it comes to leadership? What's your mindset towards leadership and leaders? What's your mindset towards the people that you lead? What's your mindset towards your fellow leaders? What's your mindset towards leaders outside of your company, outside of your profession? I went to school for engineering, and when I was in engineering school, it's a very good program. 5 years in college. And looking back, there were some perceptions that we had. In this case, we were conditioned to have towards people from other departments. Some of our professors, which I believe they were wrong, they were a little bit rude, and they'll say, "Don't care about the people that do arts or people that are doing anthropology, people that are doing psychology, because you are engineers and You are here to be trained on how to solve world's problems. And to an extent, they made us feel like we were more important than anyone else out there. And looking back, the professors were wrong, because nobody is more special than any other. Nobody is more important than any other. And when you think about it, we all need all those skills. We need to be good with people. We need to be able to understand other people's emotions, and that's the emotional intelligence. So we had that attitude towards other people. And fast forward to today, I've had personally to modify my attitude towards the way I see employees. I've learned that employees, are not just there to be seen, but they are there to be listened to as well. They are not there to be kind of not just as cogs on the wheel. They are there as contributors to the vision and the dream that you have for your team and for your company. They have something special to bring to the table. They need to be given a benefit of the doubt. They need to be trained. They need to be developed. And when you see them that way, then you can easily provide the resources. One of my mentors says that you can only add value to people if you value them. And that's John Maxwell. You can only add value to people if you value them. And I believe that's true. So what's your mindset towards the people that you lead? Because that's going to determine what you're going to do with them and what you're going to do for them. So importance of high performance mindset. Again, almost every single time you bring up something, whether it's new or it's been around for a long time, but it's just within, it's not within the awareness of someone, people tend to resist it. And when you talk about high performance mindset, there are people, and I'm serious about this, really. I get to hear this all the time, who go like, I've been getting good results throughout my life. I've been doing this for 40 years, 30 years, especially when we are having conversations on how we can train their leaders. And that could be true. And they're using the word, I've been a good leader. I've been getting good results. But the question is, why would you settle for good when you can go for great? Why would you settle for just average when you can go for extraordinary? So with the training that we do and the coaching that we do and the people that we have, including the people that are here really on this training, you are here because you believe that you can get better. You are here to pick probably one or two ideas or get reminded of something that's going to help you to get better results. So when you think about high performance mindset, it's always looking for the next thing. To up your skills, to up your game, to become a better leader, a better communicator, a better relationship builder. So high performance mindset drives behaviors. It's going to drive your behavior, how you act in and outside of work. It's going to drive your team members' behavior. Their mindset towards you is going to drive to determine how they are going to act towards you, their behavior towards you, their attitude and their mindset toward the work that you do. If they believe the work you do is making a difference in the world and it's meaningful work, then their behavior is going to be relevant, and it's going to be very directly proportional to how they see it. High performance mindset determines your decision making. Again, one of my mentors says that we all make decisions on a daily basis. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of decisions. You wake up in the morning, you decide what you're going to wear, the shoes, the clothes. You decide what you're going to have for breakfast, unless you are very regimented and you eat the same thing every day. I don't. You decide, if you have a business like me, where are you going to go? Who are you going to meet with? The meetings that you're going to have. If you have a job, you look at your calendar. So you make those decisions, and some of the decisions get injected onto your schedule and your calendar without notice, because again, this is how the world is set up. But one of the things I like about what my mentor taught me about decision making, he said that there are some decisions we need to make way in advance. You make the decision and then you manage that decision every single day. And when it comes to leadership, one of the decisions I believe you and I need to make is to believe in people, to believe that every single person has a potential and they can be developed, to believe that every person deserves to be trained, to believe that every person needs to have something invested in them, and even us to believe in ourselves that we can become better leaders, better communicators, better relationship builders, better executives, better business owners. So your high performance mindset is going to determine the kind of decisions that you're going to make. In this case, are you making decisions to produce average results, or are you making decisions to produce high level, high performance results? High performance mindset is also going to determine how resilient you are going to be. Whether we like it or not, we are going to face problems. We are going to face challenges. growing up, and I grew up in Africa, specifically Kenya. I grew up in the village, and I used to think that at some point all my problems are going to go away, because when we didn't have enough money and resources in my family, I thought, when I get enough money, my problems are going to go away. When I can afford food and have nice clothes and be able to go to a restaurant and eat whatever I want, when I get to have a car, when I get to have a family, I thought those things were going to eliminate my challenges and my problems. But that's not true. Sometimes those things create other problems. If your dream has always been to have a nice car, better than the one you have. Let's say you're driving a nice, what you call basic car. Most likely it has a nice mileage, miles per gallon. Its maintenance is not that expensive, and it's a nice basic car. And you just spend a little bit of money on it to maintain it, and then you aspire to get a better car, maybe a more advanced car. It comes with high expenses. And it hits. It's a reality that hits whenever you get a nicer car, and I've gone through that, and then you take it to the dealership or to the shop to change tires or oil change, and you go like, why is it 4 times more expensive? That's the price you pay. All this to say, when you go through tough times, especially in leadership, someone quits on you, on when unexpectedly someone doesn't show up to work, or you get sick, or you get given a project that's way beyond your knowledge, or at least your expertise, and now you have to rally people behind that project, or you're just a new manager and you don't know how to lead, then you are likely to struggle initially, and then after that things get easier. Resilience helps you to weather those challenges. Resilience is going to help you to power through even when you're going through the tough times. We say that winners don't quit on themselves, and you shouldn't, because when you go through tough times, you're going to become better. Just yesterday, we were going through a class. We teach on public speaking. So we have a program called Own the Stage: How to Sell Your Products, Ideas, and Your Services. And we were going through that class yesterday. And one of the things we established was that when you are when you think about your story, when you think about your life from the time you're born, if you're more than 15 years old, you've gone through enough problems. Think about if you are to tell someone your story. Most likely you've had a very normal life at some point, and then something happens and your life tanks, and you go all the way to the bottom. You hit that rock bottom, and now you can't go anywhere else, and you just have to work yourself up. You learn some lessons, you learn some skills, you figure out how to get things done, you learn how to relate with people. You're building those emotional and mental muscles. By the time you get to the top, you're a better person, and you are likely to surpass where you are at. So it's the same way. Resilience is going to help you to weather those tough times. So there are three key traits of high performance leaders. Three key traits of high performance leaders. These are not the only traits. I believe there are way more than three, but I picked three of these because I believe if you can master these and become comfortable with these, then most likely you're going to become a high performance leader. One of them is a growth mindset. High performance leaders embrace challenges and feedback. When you think about a growth mindset, is believing that you can again become a better leader, a better communicator, a better person. That's growth. And growth doesn't happen within your comfort zone. It happens when you go through tough times. You get sharpened, you get abrased a little bit. So when you have a growth mindset, you can easily weather those challenges. I told you that I've written 2 books that became bestsellers, fortunately. And one of them is this book here. It's called Take the Leap: Mastering the Transition from employee to manager. And we talk about 3 key mindsets, and growth mindset is one of those. The second one, which I don't have here, is the servant mindset, where you believe and you understand that you are there to serve the people that you are leading. It doesn't mean that you are their servant. And I went through a very tough time really to understand this particular concept. I came across this concept, I believe, in 2009. Came across a book that was given by one of my managers then. And I couldn't understand how a leader like me and you could be called servant leaders, because what I knew from the time I was born was that a servant is someone who gets misused. I never aspired to become a servant. That's why the servant leadership concept didn't make sense to me. But after research and understanding it right now, servant leadership is all about finding a way to serve your people, providing resources, providing training, being there for them, sitting down with them, understanding who they are, their goals, their dreams, what they want to accomplish, and then coming up with a plan to help them to accomplish that. So as a leader, if you can master the concept of growth mindset and practice that, then you are likely to be successful. The second trait is resilience, and we talked about this quite a bit. Those who have resilience, in this case, high performance leaders, quickly bounce back from setbacks. You see, it's one thing to go through tough times. It's one thing to expect to go through tough times because you're going to go through tough times. It's one thing to prepare for the tough times, because we say if you can predict it, you can prepare for it. If you can predict that you're going to have a challenge tomorrow, which you will, then you can prepare for it today, not knowing exactly how the challenge is going to be to be like. But where the most important thing, and I believe the most impactful thing for you and for your team, is to be able to bounce back when you go through tough times, when you get a setback. Some people stay down there, you get knocked down and they stay down there. And yes, we know it's not a good thing for you to be knocked down. And then they whine and complain and they blame everyone. They blame their spouses and their kids and their parents, their business partners, the market, the government. Okay. They blame the weather. I mean, anything and anyone that they can blame the challenge on. But when you think about it, as a leader, you're supposed to, yes, experience that and feel it and acknowledge it, but again, find a way to get back up. Like I said, when you hit rock bottom, you need to start walking your way all the way to the top again and potentially surpass that. So high performance leaders have mastered this trait of being resilient and sticking with it until they succeed. You see, we say that, and I believe this, those who win at a very high level and those who win consistently are not necessarily the strongest people. They are not necessarily the fastest. They are not the most knowledgeable or the most intelligent. It's the people that can stick with it minute after minute, over and over, over and over. It's the people that can keep on punching until they get to the end. It's the people that can keep on taking one step after the other, one foot in front of the other, keep on going. And if you get tired, of course, you need to rest and keep going. But leaders should not give up, because when you give up, you're not just giving up on yourself, you are giving up on the people that you lead. If as a leader you throw the towel and you say, I can't do it anymore, I'm sick and tired, I can't be a leader for these people, and rightfully so, sometimes your people are going to drive you crazy. But when you throw in the towel, what you're saying is that you don't care about yourself, number one, because you're not willing to allow yourself to go through that growth moment and that growth season. But you're also telling me that you don't care about the people that you lead. Now, by all means, if you get overwhelmed, you need to step back, get some rest, and also ask for help. And we're going to see here in a second how you can utilize mentors. Number three is focus. High performance leaders stay goal focused and driven. They don't lose sight of the goal. There are people out there, and I don't think there are that many, but they are loud enough. They tend to tell you that don't plan, don't be too structured, don't be too rigid on your plans, because what if you fail? There's no guarantee you're going to succeed. And of course, there's no guarantee. They are right about that, but nothing is guaranteed. You and I, we are here today on a Tuesday, the 27th of August. There's no guarantee we are going to be alive tomorrow. But why are we here today? Because we have an assignment, we have a vision, we have a goal, we have a calling. I have a calling to train and transfer information. I have a calling to make a difference in people's lives. You have a calling to lead people. That's why you're here. And our hope, you and I, is that tomorrow we are going to be here so we can continue making that difference. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, then it is what it is. So planning and having a goal and staying focused on the goal is going to help you to succeed at a very high level. Again, you can't go where you don't know. You can't get where you haven't planned. I mean, you can't get to an address that you don't have. That's why we use GPS, right? I was reading a book. Actually, I've read this book several times, and I think I have it here. Actually, I do have it. The book is called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I bought the first edition of that book in 2008, and I loved it so much. So I I told a friend of mine called Martin about the book, and he borrowed the book and he never brought it back. So I bought the second version of that, second edition of that book. I believe it was 2008, no, no, 2019, I believe. And in that book, Jack talks about, explains how the GPS works actually. And he said we all need to have a global positioning system, which is the GPS in our minds and in our lives. And he says that the way the GPS is designed, when you plug in the address, it calculates the time and the route backwards. So you plug in the address, and here's the address, then it calculates from the destination all the way to where you are at. And that's powerful, according to me. I mean, if that's true, I've never done research on that. But if that's true, then it's very powerful, because you and I need to have a goal, and then we work backwards and ask ourselves, how can we accomplish that goal? What do we need to do? What kind of plans? What kind of skills? How many team members? How many employees? Okay. What resources do we need? So staying goal focused and driven is going to help you big time to perform at a high level. So let's talk about the how. Now that we know, we need to have we have a high performance mindset, which is going to determine, your perceptions, is going to determine your decision making, is going to determine how resilient you're going to be. And now we know the traits that you need to have. So how can you cultivate high performance mindset? Number one is self-reflection. You need to regularly assess your mindset and attitudes. We all can learn more about ourselves every single day. And I believe you have some level of self-awareness. I do. I've worked on myself for a long time. Actually, on Saturday, I was speaking at a small conference, and I remember sharing with the people there that for a long time, like many, many years, I believe up to until I was about to be done with high school, I thought I was an introvert, because the environment that I grew up in did not somehow give me the opportunity to express myself, or experiment with who I am, to figure out basically who I am. So I thought I was introverted. I was a little quiet, and then I went to school for engineering. That did not help much. But again, years later, I learned that I'm extroverted. I mean, as it gets, very, very extroverted. I love people. I like to hang out with people. If I happen to be down, which it happens once in a while, then I just need to be around people, and that excites me. So when you think about self-reflection, is asking yourself, who am I? What drives me? What makes me tick? What am I good at? What do I struggle with? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And one of the things I shared with the people at the conference was that you need to identify your strengths and focus on those strengths, maximize on them. If possible, operate 80% of whatever you do within your strength zone, which is your strengths. And then be aware of these things you are not good at, your weaknesses. And if possible, find someone who is strong at those things and have them work with you. If it's a team, then find people that have different strengths, different personalities, different strengths, different capabilities. So having that self-reflection is going to help you to understand who you are. What's your mindset? Do you have a growth mindset? Do you have a servant leadership mindset? Do you have a multiplier mindset? And what's your attitude towards your people, the company, the industry, and the world? The second thing that you can do to cultivate high performance mindset is continuous learning. Seek out new knowledge and experiences. I 2000, I believe it was 2016. That's when I went full time in business, and I got a contract with a company, and I was traveling throughout the country to do training for them. And I met a lady called Amy, and as we were talking, she brought up the term being a lifelong learner. She said, I'm a lifelong learner, and I believe that people should be lifelong learners. I mean, that sounded really cool. But what I learned from that, and really over the years, which is true, is that we all need to learn continuously. Be a lifelong learner, looking for new knowledge, new skills, new kind of like trying to find an edge. If you're a leader, which you are, without trying to compete with other people, right now, are you the best leader that you can be? Are you working towards becoming a better leader? Are you going to be a better leader tomorrow than you are today? Are you going to be a better leader next year than you are today? Are you a better leader today than you were last year? So that's what I mean by continuous learning, not about overwhelming yourself or reading every book you can put your hands on, because I know you're busy, but find a way to read books, listen to podcasts, show up to trainings like this, be mentored. That's what I mean. Seek out knowledge and experiences. And number three is believe in yourself. You need to stand and fight for your goals and dreams. Now, whenever we talk about believing in yourself, it can get a little bit controversial because somehow there are so many people out there who don't believe in themselves. I was one of those. Again, without telling you the whole story, I didn't have the opportunity to be in an environment where someone told me, good job, or I believe in you, or whatever you're doing is making a difference. It was just one of those, you can do better. You get a B and you are told, what were you thinking? You need to get an A. The question was, by the way, in our household, if you get a B, the first question was there anyone who had a better grade than you? And if the answer was yes, then you are not successful. Like you had to be number one. And I grew up thinking that I need to be number one. And again, I thought if I'm number one in everything, in my academics, be the best leader, be the best engineer, be the best man, then potentially I can be highly successful. And I realized I don't need to compete with anyone. I just need to compete with myself. In this case, be better today than I was yesterday. So when you think about believing in yourself, is believing in your abilities and your capabilities and the skills that you have, and believing that you can become a better leader, believing that you are intelligent enough to understand the things that you are being told, believing that you are good enough to lead the team you have, whether it's a team of 2 or 20, 50 or 500, it doesn't matter. Believing in yourself, that's going to help you to keep going. Believing in your goals and dreams. Now, I had a chance to do management in corporate America for 12 years. And during that time, I learned so many valuable lessons. And part of it was busting the myths that I had about management. Again, initially, and part of it was college. I did my master's in industrial management, and there's a program we did which was called Leadership in the Industrial Age. Leadership in the industry, any industry, medical, engineering, manufacturing, it doesn't matter what it is. And part of the training that we went through, which I believe was wrong, was being told that you need to put your team first. Your team comes first. Everyone else comes first. Your company comes first. Your work comes first. Your job comes first. And there's a place for that. And they forgot, or at least they didn't know, to tell us that we need to take care of ourselves so we can have the ability to take care of other people. And today in 2024, I believe you and I know that taking care of ourselves, self-care, is a buzz. It's something that is a subject that's being discussed and being emphasized on. And I believe it should have been all this time. So most of the people, especially if you've been doing management for more than 5 years, you might have been taught that you need to put your team first. I don't think you should. You need to put yourself first. You need to have goals and dreams. If you understand how it feels to have a goal and a dream, you can easily teach someone else, in this case your team members, on how to have their goals and dreams. And when you tell them about the vision you have for the company, the vision you have for the team, the goals and dreams that you have for the team, they can easily understand because they have goals of their own. There's a book out there, some of you might have read it. It's called The Leadership Challenge. And I get to talk about this book a lot because it's so relevant. It's been around, I believe, for more than 35 years. That book was written by James Kouzes and James Posner. James Kouzes and Barry Posner from UCLA in California. And they talk about the 6 leadership practices. And one of the practices that you and I need to have, at least to practice, is called inspiring a shared vision. And what they say is that if you can have your own goals and dreams and help your team members to identify their goals and dreams, their vision, their mission and vision, and then you clarify, at least you communicate and clarify the mission and vision for your team and your company, and then you align them so their team members' goals, each team members' goals, and the company goals and dreams, then you have a shared vision. And they say that's how you get to win consistently on a daily basis. Because again, whether we like it or not, we think about ourselves more than anyone else. When you wake up in the morning, and I've done this experiment, especially in 2024, as we develop our programs, we like to make them realistic and timely. So in the beginning of this year, I started asking people, what is it that you do in the morning when you wake up? And people say things like, I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I take a shower, or I wash my face, I make my coffee, I get in my car, I go to my job, I do this, I talk to my team members, I do this. And the key word is my. I make my coffee, I brush my teeth, I wash my face. My means me, which means as soon as we wake up, which is very natural, we are thinking and taking care of ourselves. So whenever someone tells us something different, that you need to think about someone else, it goes beyond our programming. It's a conflict. And anything that confuses your brain is likely to say no, or at least it's going to resist. And that's why I say you need to believe in yourself. You need to have your own goals. Think about yourself so you can have the capacity to think about other people as well. Now, what we are talking about is totally different from being narcissistic, from being selfish, from being self-absorbed. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you taking care of yourself so well so that you can have the capacity to take care of other people. And believing in yourself is going to enable you to do that. So let's talk about the second part of the training, which is setting clear expectations. We get to work with new leaders, we get to work with experienced leaders, some executives. And one of the things we get to hear and discuss about quite often is the subject of setting expectations and holding people accountable. They go together. You set expectations and you hold them accountable. And they tend to forget about what happens in the middle. You know, you have the expectations and you want to hold people accountable. But just because you have the expectations written down and sometimes in your head doesn't mean your team members know about the expectations or they are clear to them. So in between, there is the communication of the expectations. And I'm going to show you here in a second how to do that. When you talk about accountability, most of the leaders, I would say 90% of the people, whenever they hear the word accountability, the first thing they think about is stress and tension and telling people that they are doing a bad job and, calling them out. And that's not what it is. Accountability is all about reminding people about the thing they said they're supposed to do. In the beginning, I said leadership is all about influencing people to do the things they're supposed to do willingly anyway. So holding them accountable is reminding them about the thing. Isaac, we agreed that this is what you're supposed to do. This is what your job description is. These are your most important tasks. I call them MITs, most important tasks for today. And it looks like you are deviating from that. So we need to get you back. What kind of help do you need? What can I do for you? What resources do you need? And most of the times, they just need a reminder for them to get back on track. So the sooner you do it, the better it is for them, the better it is for you. But what I get to see, and I just had this conversation last week with a leader who had to do what you call a performance improvement plan for one of the employees. And it was stressful because this is someone who has been there for many years. I mean, the person they were going to talk to, they do an okay job, but they have seen their performance kind of go down slowly by slowly over the years. And now they are trying to bring them back up. And it was a little stressful because you don't know how to begin this conversation. So my recommendation is as soon as you see something, say something. Someone slips on their performance, have a conversation for two reasons. Number one, you care about them and you care about you. And the second reason is because when you address it immediately, it's going to help them to get back on track and get good results. And when they get back on track, it's good for you, it's good for the team, it's good for the company, and it's also good for the world. So why set expectations? Number one is alignment. Setting expectations ensures that everyone is on the same page. There's no confusion. You might have been a part of a team, if not your own team, where people had different visions of where you were going. People had different understanding of where you are going. And it's like sometimes you got to say it over and over and over again. One of my managers, he was the VP for a company I worked for many years ago, over 10 years ago. He used to say it's better to over communicate than to under communicate. And he said you need to say it over and over and over again. And actually, he was referring to consistency. He said, if you really want to attain consistency, you got to say things over and over and over and over again. And when I think about consistency, Tony's name, that was his name, Tony's name pops up in my head because that was drilled in my head. So when you set expectations and you communicate those expectations, you are likely to have alignment within your team. Number two is accountability. Clarifying responsibilities and goals. Now, we have job descriptions, and I don't think it's realistic for me or even your company to expect you to look at those job descriptions every single day. It's not practical. But what happens is that when we don't have them right in front of us, we get to deviate and drift away from what you're supposed to do, which is reminding people of what they're supposed to do, holding them accountable, and rewarding them when they do a good job. So what I like to do is to have weekly meetings in my company. We have those meetings every Monday at 9:30 in the morning, just to get on the same page. We rarely have issues in our company because we address issues as they come. We are lucky that way. um, but when you think about holding people accountable, is to have just 2 or 3 things that you remind them every single week. Remember our core values. Remember how we do things. If something happened, I'll give you just a quick example. A few weeks ago, I believe it's more than a month ago, our emails were going out, but they were not being delivered, and I didn't know why. So we see, like, over 2,000 emails have gone out, but again, when we look at the report, it was showing like 200 and some. And I came to realize that the credit card that we had on the system, on file for the system that we use, had probably expired, or something had happened to it. So they were not charging the credit card, and we did not get a notification. So we could have gone on a rant to blame the company. Why did they not tell us? It's not their business to tell us. It's our job to make sure that we know what's happening. So we had a discussion, and we said every day, maybe every week, if at least every week, we need to check to make sure the reports and whatever is going out, they are matching. Okay, now we know what the problem is. So I have someone who checks that every single morning. Now, that can become a problem if we're having the same issue over and over and over again, and I don't address it, or at least I don't bring it up, and then 3-4 months down the road, I lose it because now I'm sick and tired of us making all these mistakes. And that's what we get to do. Some of the times we lose it, we blow it up, we talk to our team members in a very aggressive manner, not because of the little thing they did at that point, but because of the pile up of all the things they have not been doing right. So holding people accountable is going to clarify responsibilities and goals. So how to communicate expectations. So I'm going to give you 3 main strategies you can use to communicate expectations. Number 1 is to be very specific. Clearly define the tasks and goals. Now, we have job descriptions and responsibilities, but I believe on a daily basis, it's going to be tasks. Potentially, you have a 1-week project, or a month project, or even a year project that needs to be broken down into tasks. What are the tasks for the day? And I know it can be a little bit mundane, and honestly, I don't enjoy doing this. But I've made a habit of clarifying what the tasks are for the day. um, if people are working together, then they know these are the tasks that we are working on. And for me, it's what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for at the end of the day. At the end of the day, since we are all working together, we have something that we want to accomplish. So what is it that I'm looking at? I'm looking at the end result. So if they don't know, or at least they are not sure what I'm looking for, they're not going to be able to focus on it. So you need to define those tasks, then communicate those tasks and what the goals are. The goals can be potentially be communicated every single week or every single month, but make sure you have it right in front of you. I've seen some companies, especially relatively bigger companies, and those that have dynamic teams, especially sales teams, they would have like a whiteboard that have a chart that will say we need to make these many calls, we need to meet with these many people, we need to do these many presentations, this is our sales goal, this is our revenue goal, and it's there and it's being updated every single day. So people sometimes they have scorecards where you get to review that scorecard every single day. If you have a meeting every day or once a week, whichever way you do it, you want to make sure the tasks and the goals are right in front of the people. The second strategy is to be a model. Illustrate what success looks like. One of the things I've learned, and I believe in it, and it's become part of who I am, and I'm glad I've been able to get there, is to make sure that I don't teach something that I've not practiced. To only teach and also ask people things that I've either done or I believe they can be done because I have someone who is either coaching me or someone who is coaching our team. I'm not good at everything. I'm not even passionate about everything. Just yesterday, actually, it was Friday last week, I got an email from a company based in California. We live in Kansas City. and they usually get government contracts. These the ERPs, the um, yeah, proposals. So they I mean RFPs, not ERPs, RFPs, request for proposals, and they were looking for a company that can deliver that a training that they got with one of the states, and it's on public speaking and also media interviews and how to do like public relations, and to communicate when there's a crisis, all the stuff that state people within the states do. And personally, I'm very comfortable on the public speaking side because we have a public speaking program that we teach. I can wing it. I can potentially teach on how to do media interviews because I've done those. I can potentially teach on how to do, crisis communication because that falls within communication. But I've never really done that as a job. I've never done that within my company. It's not something I do every single day. So I told that lady, I have a good this project sounds, and it's a good size contract actually for a whole year, potentially with another year to be renewed. I told her I'm not good at this. And she said, hey, just see if you can find someone who can teach this program. So last night I was able to attend. I was invited by one of my friends who is an actor. She's also a media person. She's on TV, and they were filming something for some music stuff for PBS. And so she invited me to go and watch the filming. And I asked her, hey, can you do this and this and that? And I sent her the email, and she said, yeah, I can do that. Okay. So that gives me enough confidence that we can deliver this. Now, how does this relate to being a model? For my team, if they know that I've decided to take on a contract that we are not able to deliver, and now we are grappling and struggling and try to kind of wing it and hoping that nobody's going to find out that we don't have the capacity and the capability to deliver that contract, then why would they respect me? Most likely they are going to have a low opinion of who I am. So being a model is illustrating how success looks like, how high performance looks like, how character looks like, how a good attitude looks like, how a good mindset, growth, multiplier mindset, and servant mindset, how does that look like? And I believe that's going to be very impactful for you. And then number 3 is to provide feedback. Regularly review and adjust expectations. And the keyword is regularly. It doesn't mean every day or every hour you change the expectations. That was done for me many years ago. I used to work for a major international company, and I was running 4 of their locations in Kansas City. I was a district manager, and I got a boss who was changing expectations almost every single day. And then initially I had a very good boss, so that was going very well. Then I was transferred to another district, and I remember one of my friends told me, Isaac, I'm just going to give you a heads up. This guy changes people's schedules and expectations and sales targets and what you're supposed to do almost on a weekly basis. So I was ready for him. So he showed up to the office and he said, hey, Isaac, I would like to sit down with you to talk to you and discuss how I like to work with my managers. And I told him, yeah, that's good. I've been waiting for you too, because I would like to discuss with you on how I like to work with my bosses. And I think at that time, I just wanted to be fired. I was kind of, I had a very bad attitude. I shouldn't have had that attitude, but I was already jaded about this person. I had talked to the managers who worked under this guy and how awful it was to work, with him, how stressful it was. But we ended up sorting out a few things that I told him that I respect my employees, I respect my team members, and I trust them. If they don't know what they're supposed to do, I'm going to train them, and I just want you to trust me. And what I asked my boss was, if there's anything to be changed, anything to do with my managers and my employees, can you run it by me so we can discuss about it? And I wanted to shield my team members because I understood who they are. There was someone who had a young child, a baby. So sometimes they would show up late. We're just going to find someone to cover their shift. There's someone who has to go pick up their kids from school. Sometimes, the babysitter doesn't show up or something happens. I understood that side of the business. And sometimes my boss didn't have a picture of how that looked like. So I felt me knowing what's about to happen I was in a better position to address that issue. So you need to provide, to provide feedback and adjust expectations, not on a daily basis. And what I mean by this is, if your team members know what's expected of them, the tasks, the projects, the goals, the metrics, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, what you are going to measure and what you'll be looking for, then they can work towards that. And when you get the results, and if there's a disconnect, at least if they don't meet the expectations, then it means you need to give them feedback. In this case, pointing out the things that they can do better, pointing out the things that they need to improve on, but I think most importantly, the skills that they need to develop and the attitudes they need to adjust. And like I said, if you can address that almost immediately, then you stand a better chance of getting them to improve almost instantly. Adjusting expectations, sometimes when we set up goals and expectations, they might be way beyond what your people can accomplish. Either the goals are too high or they're too low. You need to adjust those. The only thing I would recommend is you adjust them in collaboration with your team members. Don't go to the office and just change them because you feel like it, because that's likely to bring tension within your team. It's likely to get people to complain about what's going on. Just last week, I got a call from someone I know, a very senior leader in a company, and she said our location is going through a lot of changes. We got communication from the corporate, basically the corporate office, and we are supposed to change. We need to reduce our staffing. The budget has been reduced. I'm supposed to step in on the floor and work like anyone else, in addition to all the administrative stuff that I'm supposed to do, in addition to all the meetings that I'm supposed to attend. In short, she was complaining about what's happening, and she said, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm trying to. I want to book an appointment with my boss, but I'm looking for advice and some coaching on how I need to approach it, because," and she said, "I don't want my emotions to get the best of me, because I want to be very objective." And then she said something that was very important and very admirable. She said, "Most of the people that work with me have known me for a long time. Some of them came to work here because they knew me. I used to work in another company and they followed me." Because what she said, since they have reduced the budget, they have to cut back on the staff. And she said, "Who is going to communicate to these people that they are being laid off? I don't want to do it, because I don't even understand why we are doing it." So she wanted to make sure she approaches it very objectively, to an extent defend the people that she works for. Now, I don't know all the details. I don't know whether the budget should rightfully be reduced or the staffing needs to be reduced. I didn't get to the details. But again, our conversation was, revolved around how to do it professionally and also firmly. Okay. So expectations can change. Now, one of the things she said is that she was not consulted, and nobody was consulted when the corporate changed all these things. Now, imagine this person is struggling to even understand why they are doing this. Most likely there are some thoughts of, do I even belong here? Feeling disrespected because she was not consulted. Most likely there's a little bit of grumbling and confusion within the team. They don't know, are we going to have a job tomorrow or not? And all those things become a distraction, and they're likely to affect productivity. It's going to be lowered. So there's a bigger price to be paid by the company because someone did not communicate expectations, or at least the adjustment of the expectations the way they were supposed to communicate. Okay, so key leadership skills for high performance. Number one is clear and effective messaging. Okay, if you can be very clear in your communication, of course, you need to become a better leader, be able to articulate what you want to communicate, the way you use your words, the tone of your voice, and also your body language, the timing, whether it's an email or a text message or even in person. You need to master the ability to communicate with people very well. Number two is delegation, how to assign tasks appropriately. And by the way, if you want to get a copy of my book, I can send you a free copy. So this book, Taking the Leap, talks about delegation. We've outlined a very good process on how to delegate tasks. And delegation on a very high level, it's not about giving away the stuff you don't like to do. It's finding the tasks that your team members can do, so you can focus on what I call high value tasks. Now, it doesn't mean what they're doing is not valuable, but you as a leader, most likely you are more knowledgeable, more experienced. There are high expectations from on you from your top management. So you need to delegate some of these tasks so that you can focus on high value tasks, and then you can do some of the most important things like coaching, training, and developing your team. So you need to master that skill. And then number three is decision making that we discussed earlier on a deeper level, but being able to make analytical and timely decisions. And the key word is timely. A decision delayed sometimes is a kind of like a justice denied in a way, because when you delay a decision to communicate the expectations, to give feedback, to train someone, to coach someone, then you are delaying you are delaying good results. You are delaying the ability to develop that, the ability to perform well and get the results that they're supposed to get. You're also delaying the fulfillment of the task in a way. So being able to analyze, basically make decisions objectively, gather the information, make sure that is accurate information, consult with the people within your company or even outside of your company, and then making that decision timely is going to be helpful. Again, many years ago, one of my bosses called Tammy, she said, sometimes making a bad decision is better than not making a decision at all. Now, I'm not saying you go out there, make awful and expensive and costly decisions, but sometimes if you are there 70% of the time, 80% of the time, just make the decision. Make sure it's not too damaging. If you try to make it perfect, it's not going to happen because perfection doesn't exist. So let's talk about practical steps for skill development. And we're going to be here, going to be done here in a few minutes, probably in about 15 minutes. Practical steps for skill development. Number one is training programs like this one. You need to enroll in leadership courses, leadership programs. Um, Before COVID, before 2020, February of 2020, most of the training used to be done in person. At least where I'm at here in the US, we used to do trainings in person. And I mentioned to you, there's a time I used to travel a lot, going to different states and cities, conducting these trainings. And it was really cool to travel until it was not. Hopping from airport to airport and getting very tired. And then COVID came in 2020, and we all got onto Zoom, and companies and leaders got used to being trained virtually like the way we are doing it right now, and you can more or less get the same value. And I know there's a place for in-person training, so enrolling in training programs, whether it's going to be virtual or in person, is going to be very helpful. And most of the times, really, when you enroll into a virtual training program, you're saving time and money because you can do it from your office, you can do it from home, and you don't have to get on a plane, pay the air ticket and the hotel and rental car and all kinds of stuff. So there's no excuse really for you not to go through training programs. Number two is mentorship. And I'm a big fan of training programs. For God's sake, that's what we do. That's what our company does. But my favorite is mentorship, because when you think about mentorship, is having someone to guide you through the path that they have walked on, guiding through a process that they have mastered, going through through a season that they have gone through. And one of the biggest values that you are going to get from that is, number, of course, the experience, but also they know the mistakes that they have made, so they'll help you to avoid those mistakes. They know where the landmines are, so they show you how to avoid those landmines. They get to listen to you. They get to hear as you speak. They can sense fear within your voice. They can sense excitement, and now they know how to help you. They know what excites you. They'll show you the things that you need to avoid, the things that you need to eliminate. They know what matters the most. Now, looking back, 9 years ago when I got into this business, I there's some things I know today about entrepreneurship that I didn't know. I wasted so much time. Actually, just yesterday, I was um I was in a mentorship call with a few other people that we get together every Monday, and they asked me to share. There was someone in the group that just starting out, and they're a little bit overwhelmed. They're trying to do blogs and social media and establishing themselves as a trainer. And I was asked to share my story. And part of it that I shared was in 2016 when I went full time into business. In my mind, I felt that I need to build something that's perfect. I need to have perfect programs, perfect workbooks with perfect color, branding colors, perfect formatting, all kinds of stuff. And I tried to do that for 4 months, by the way. I would go to the office and I would spend 12 hours trying to work on those programs. And then finally I said, I'm ready. And in April of 2016, I got out there and I was telling people about my programs. And then I realized really very few people care about my perfection. Very few people care about how perfect the slides are and how perfect the workbooks are. And by all means, I really want to have nice formatted workbooks, but I wasted 4 months trying to make it perfect. And then I figured that I needed to learn how to sell, how to speak, how to communicate, how to even train. Real quick, I'll tell you my first real training when I launched my company was in May of 2016. And this training was supposed to take all day, 9 to 4. And because again, I didn't have much experience, I I got done with the workbook by 1:30 p.m. I rushed through the training because I didn't know how to tell stories. I didn't know how to connect with people. I didn't know how to ask questions. I didn't know how to slow down for people to digest that information. Now, the requirement for the company that gave me the contract was we were supposed to be there for 6 hours. So somehow I had to find a way to keep people in the room or at least around in the hotel for another 2 to 3 hours. And I kept on, I did Q&A and we tried to do some exercises. It was painful. And I feel sorry for those people. Now, since then, I've learned how to digest the information, how to create a good training program, how to connect with the people, how to ask enough questions, how to spread out the program, not unnecessarily, but just to cover enough time. If it's 3 hours or 2 hours, I don't want to extend that unnecessarily. So that comes with experience. Okay. So mentorship is going to help you as a leader to become a better leader within your company, outside of your company. And if you need help, by the way, let me know and we can connect you with great mentors if we don't have any within our company. And then number 3 is practice. You need to apply the skills in real world scenarios. Just like I told you, I spent tons of time developing my programs and my workbooks, stepped out there. Since then, I've gained a lot of experience. I'm still learning, but I can predict how the training is going to go. When I shake someone's hand, even in the beginning of the training, if it's an in-person training, I can tell where they're at, how they're feeling, and potentially to know, I have an idea if they're worried about something. I know how to approach it. So I don't jump in just into the training. I want to connect with them. If I walk into a company, I can tell what's happening within the company within a very short time, maybe just a few minutes. So you as a leader, how this is valuable to you is to understand when you walk into your company, into your team, to interact with them, you need to be able to sense what's going on. Are they okay? How are they feeling? What are they worried about? What are they excited about? What do they talk about? And how can you connect with them so you can influence them to perform well and go to the next level? I'll share with you a quick formula that I learned in 2009. I listened to one of the great speakers and great trainers in the world. He passed on in 2010, I believe 2010. And he said that if you really want to master anything, you need to do 3 things. He said you need to study, you need to practice, and you need to teach. You need to study, practice, and teach. Um, and to study, what he said is that don't just read books. You need to study books. Don't just read about leadership. Don't just read about employee engagement and conflict resolution. Don't just read about communication. You need to study communication, study leadership, study people. And then you need to practice, which means whatever you study, whatever you learn, you need to practice that. And then if you want to master that, you need to teach other people as well. One of the things I would encourage you to do as a leader is, even as you go through this training today, whatever concepts that you are learning about mindset, high performance mindset, about setting expectations and communication, and all the things we are going to cover for the next 3 days, I would encourage you to practice that. Go back to your team and practice with your team. Sit down and reflect. Do I have the mindset and the right attitude? Am I developing my people? And then after that, find one person, start with one person within your team and teach them those concepts. If you happen to get a chance to go to your executive team or your management team meeting, or even with other fellow managers, share these concepts And that's part of the teaching, sharing and say, hey, I went to a training that Isaac was teaching and we learned about this, or I've been practicing this thing and actually it's working. So whenever you teach other people, it gets embedded into your system. It becomes second nature. And that's how your team can see you're not just knowledgeable, you know how to do it, and you become a master at that. Think about it. When it comes to communication, it starts when you are young. You're born and you learn how to say a few words, and you learn how to put some sentences together, and now you know how to express yourself. And you go to school, probably you study English grammar, you know how to connect all those words together. And then at some point you find you can talk without thinking about it. You can speak English without having to think, what am I going to say next? You can speak any language. I mean, I speak Swahili. I'm from Kenya. I also speak my native language. I can speak those languages very fluently without having to recall anything, because I've done that over and over and over again. And that's what you want to do. You want to develop these high performance skills in a way that they become second nature. If you see someone, you know what to say to them appropriately, professionally, and respectfully. If someone comes after you, whether it's one of the employees or you're going through a tough time, you know how to act without having to fake it. It's something that you can develop. So study, practice, and teach. That's going to help you big time. So what are your next steps? Now, I've covered so much, really a lot of stuff. And by the way, you have a workbook that I sent out, and if you don't, we can give that to you. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or anywhere, there's a link that we posted that has the workbook. You can download that, so you can go back and reference what we covered today. But you are talking about your next steps. Here's the question: what are the top 3 areas you need to improve on? We talked about mindset. High performance mindset. We talked about the skills that you need to develop. We talked about setting expectations and expressing those expectations and making them clear. So identify just 3 areas that you feel you need to improve on. And if you can, go ahead and take the next step and come up with a strategy on how you're going to improve on those areas. And if you're not sure, again, send us a message on LinkedIn, Facebook, send us an email. You are here potentially because you got an email from us, or because you got an invitation from us. So if you're not sure how to go about improving on those strategies, we can help you with that. So just reach out to us. Okay. So your next steps, your focus areas of improvement. So when you think about mindset, because we said we are going to talk about 2 main things: mindset and setting expectations. So mindset is a high performance mindset. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is your leadership mindset, or how strong is your high performance leadership mindset? Okay. Just gauge yourself. And again, after you figure out whether you're a 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, basically, if you're an 8 and above, then you are doing very well. Keep on doing that. If it's less than 8, then you have some work to do. And then on expectations, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is your ability to set and communicate your expectations? Are you really good at that? Do your people understand what they're expected to do? What are their tasks? What are their responsibilities? What are their goals? What are the things they need? What are the KPIs, the key performance indicators? What are you looking at every single day when you're looking at their performance, or every single week? Because these things are going to help you in 2 many areas. They're going to help you when you're doing your reviews, whether you do them monthly, biannually, or annually. It's going to make it easy for you to do those reviews, and it's going to make it easy for you to reward your employees and also to train them. So make sure that you are very clear on your ability to set and communicate expectations. So let's recap what we've covered today. We've covered high performance mindset, the importance of high performance mindset and traits of high performance leaders. We covered setting expectations, and we said that you need to be really good at communication, which is, we say communication is the leadership language, and it is. And then this high performance skills, key leadership skills, and development steps. So looking ahead, and we are talking about tomorrow. Again, we are doing this training today, tomorrow, and Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to develop high performance skills for you, whether you're a new leader, an emerging leader, or an executive. We're going to dive deep on how to develop those skills, because if you can do that, you are likely to have an easier time, you're likely to get better results, you're likely to enjoy your life, because the expectations are clear, and you are able to influence people to do what they're supposed to do consistently. You can finally sit back behind your desk and think and dream about the team, which most of the people don't get that time. You can take a walk if you need to. You can take time, you can take lunch, so you don't have to hit behind your desk. So that's important. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to talk about advanced skills, practical applications, and we're going to do some interactive activities. So we'll see how we can get you to do some stuff. And again, like I said, we have a workbook. If you are on our email, you are going to get a reminder which will have the workbook itself, a link. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, we're also going to put a link there, so you can download the workbook. You can print it if you like to print it. Some people like to have a printed copy, or you can just have it on your screen, and we can go through this, so you'll be able to go through the exercises with us. So with that, I'm going to take any questions that you might have. We are right on time. I said this was going to take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's 3:11, and I believe by 3:30 Central Time we'll be done. So I'm going to get the slides off the screen, and I'm going to see if we have any questions. So if you have any questions, any comments, put them in the chat, and we are going to answer those as we wind up our training. Again, thank you for being here today. Okay. It doesn't look like we have any questions. We have several comments. Melissa said her expectation was how to most effectively lead a small team with one seasoned staff in-house, one newbie in-house, and one remote employee. Okay. Melissa, assuming that you are still here, we're going to cover most of those tomorrow, but let me just answer just in case you don't make it tomorrow. When it comes to, let me start with the remote employee. Having clear expectations is going to help you big time, and not just having the expectations, but documented expectations. Having a list of the tasks that they're supposed to do every single day. If they're the same tasks, most likely there are some tasks they do every single day, checking emails and potentially responding to clients. So those need to be documented, the daily tasks, then any other tasks that might pop up. And that means you need to have a process on how to do that, have a documented process on how to do different things, so that whenever they pop up and you are not there, they'll be able to do it. The second thing is to do regular meetings. Like I said, in our company, we do a meeting every Friday. Sometimes we do them twice a week, depending on what we are working on. So having regular meetings and having a structure on how you're going to run those meetings, then that's going to be helpful. And if you need help with coming up with a structure, just let me know. Again, when you have a new person in the house, yes, they need to be trained. Sometimes you might get a little impatient, but it takes a while for them to get there. Whenever someone does something for the first time, they're going to be really bad at it, but it gets better. So I would say, from a leadership perspective, yes, you're going to have expectations, but don't stress people out. Don't push them and say, hey, you got to get this done within this time, or you only have 2 weeks to figure it out. First off, I don't like that term of telling employees to figure it out. Their job is not to figure it out. Their job is to do what you've guided them to do. You need to have a guidance, to have a process, a structure. And of course, they can, after they get experience, they'll learn how to figure things out. That's why you are able to do that. But I think it's unfair for you to expect them to figure things out, especially on something that they have never done in their past. Okay, so that's my very superficial response to your expectation, Melissa. All right. Mercy, do we have any questions? We have Mercy in the background. She's helping us to monitor the chat. Check on LinkedIn and YouTube to see if we have any questions there. And if not, then we're gonna call it a day. All right. Again, thank you for joining us today. We are back tomorrow. Going to be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time with our second part of the training. Again, this is part of our launch, is our Dynamo Leadership Academy launch that we are doing. We decided to do this training to give you a taste of what we have inside the academy. If you're curious about that, just let me know. But on Thursday, we're going to send out a message to everyone about the academy so you can check it out if you think it's a good fit for your team. But really this week, part of it is us to give you a gift, but also to showcase what we have in the academy. I'm not the only trainer in our company. We have several trainers, but for this 3-day training, I'm the one who is doing it. Yeah, so again, thank you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to see you tomorrow. Have a good one.